What's up? Welcome in, Hoge Jahns, going in to the weekend, week 2, Bears, Texans. What's up, Johnsy?
Prime time.
That's right.
Good morning,
What do you
my
do
friend.
with your Sunday early afternoon in Houston?
I'm going to eat some barbecue.
Nice.
I'm going to watch football
Nice.
and send endless amounts of texts back home looking for updates on my son's games.
Oh,
I get so impatient, too. If, that response doesn't come within, 10 seconds,
yeah.
I'll text somebody else.
Okay.
No
You need to
response, I'll text somebody else.
You need to settle down.
No, I need somebody in the stadium. Like, my brother did this once. He filmed for a little bit, FaceTime me
Yeah.
for a little bit until his phone overheated and, died.
Yeah. Well,
I need somebody with that type of dedication for Adam Jahns. This is life.
Is this flag football?
No, this is tackle football.
Okay. But they play on Sundays too?
Yes.
It's
Flag is on Saturdays. Tackle football.
not up here. James's flag games last year were all on Sundays, so I
Sundays?
never got to go to them.
So a lot of the programs around here will use high school fields for their home games now.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we did too. We were at Vernon Hills.
Yes. So that happens to be the clear day.
Yeah. Okay. But it's not clear because there's football. It's the NFL. So I don't know about that. I have, obvious objection to that.
I want Saturday games at the park sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I will. There's 10 games at noon, so I'm thinking I'll just sit and watch 10 games. And then then head down to CHGO for a pregame show, because we got that time. It should be a fun weekend of football. Got a good college slate too. My Badgers are going to take down Alabama tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Wait, did you say take down?
Probably not, but
Okay.
we can dream.
They'll
first
be in the game for a little bit, I imagine.
first quarter, maybe. I don't know. Not too confident about that one, but it is a Camp Randall. Should be fun. And maybe that Alabama's not fully Alabama. It doesn't seem like right now, so maybe they'll get a chance. I don't know. But we got a lot to talk about and talk to. Jeff Joniak will be joining us, the voice of the Bears, very, very soon. Looking forward to talking to Joniak. I feel like we get him once a year ish, and
Sometimes twice.
yeah. So we'll get Joniak coming off a win. He'll be in a better mood because of that. And then we got some injuries too. We should probably discuss off the bat here before we get into the real meat and potatoes of this matchup. But for week 2, this is quite a, I don't know, meaty injury report. Keenan Allen has not practiced the last 2 days with a heel injury. Karan Amagaji still dealing with the quad, limited the last 2 days. Ryan Bates went from limited to DNP yesterday with his shoulder/elbow now injury. Kari Blasingame was limited on Wednesday, then DNP'd on Thursday. So I don't know if that happened in Wednesday's practice, but he's dealing with a hand and knee. Mercedes Lewis got a rest day. That's not a big deal. Roma Dunze, knee injury from that game on Sunday. He has not practiced the last 2 days. Zach Pickens, the one guy trending maybe in the right direction, he went from limited to full yesterday with that groin he's been dealing with. Of course, I think he practiced in full last week once and then went to limited on Friday, or maybe went limited to DMP. Maybe that's what it was. DeMarcus Walker, foot injury, did not practice on a Wednesday. He was limited on Thursday, so that was also headed in a little bit of a better direction. That's a lot of players, though, and I saw a tweet on the old Twitter website thing this morning that said that Caleb Williams quickly went from best situation and number 1 picks ever gone into to virtually the same wide receivers Justin Fields had last year.
Plus DeAndre Swift and Gerald Everett. But yes.
Yeah.
There was a point yesterday in the Bears locker room where we saw Roma Dunze walking through. Kind of like a brisk walk, almost like a, I don't know, half jog through the locker room as he weaved his way
a little bit of a limp, but not like, he didn't look like he was in a ton of pain.
No, and he had the orange practice jersey on. I'm thinking oh, Whoa, is he going to practice? That's notable. Was he just in the walkthrough? What's he doing? Why is he wearing the practice jersey? They're wearing orange this week, if you haven't heard. So he's wearing the orange practice jersey. Nope, did not practice. As we talked about last podcast, let's be safer than sorry with your top 10 pick a bit. But in terms of Keenan Allen, he's dealt with so many injuries throughout his career. Like, you knew this was going to happen at some point. This early, don't like it, but it is what it is when you got a 32-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah. As we record this on Friday morning, we'll probably hear more from Flus later today, and also get the final injury report later today. I feel like, with Keenan, maybe the situation where he's a veteran. He cannot practice this week and play in the game Sunday. With a Rome, you have he's a rookie, so I don't know if he quite has the same amount of leeway. And also, he's a rookie who's a top 10 pick, and you probably want to be a little bit more careful on that one, especially with it being a knee, an MCL in the knee. So, I think right now, if you're Caleb Williams, you're hoping one of those two guys can go by Sunday. That best case scenario?
That's best case scenario.
It sure feels that way. And we'll continue to monitor that. By the way, Nico Collins was dealing with an illness yesterday. I don't think that's a big deal. Damian Pierce, backup running back, popped up with a hamstring. Juice Scruggs, their center, popped up with a groin yesterday. That'll be interesting to watch today. And then Dalton Schultz, obviously their big tight end, has not practiced this week with an ankle. So Texas dealing with some stuff too. I don't know if it's quite as lengthy of an injury report as the Bears, but some things to watch as we head into this big game. And nobody better to talk to than the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak. Rocking the Iowa State gear and everything. Jeff Joniak joining Hoge Jahns once again. Ready for week 2?
Certainly. Why wouldn't I be?
Do you get up more for the primetime games like the players do?
I absolutely can't stand primetime games because you wait all day. As a broadcaster, there's nothing worse. Like, you don't know what to do with yourself. You want to watch other games. Should I go for a run? We have a TV show, though, first thing in the morning, so we have to get to the stadium by 10 o'clock for our 10:30 show on Fox. That's live, and then go back to the hotel and then go back to the stadium. So, yeah, but as for the game itself, the environment will be playoff-like, I feel. The whole whiteout situation. And talking to Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Texans, my good buddy, they're thirsting for a game like this because they haven't had one like this. Certainly, they went to the playoffs and had 2 playoff games last year, the Houston Texans, but they haven't had a Sunday night game that was built up like this with Caleb against C.J. Stroud in at least 5 years. So it's been a while. They're in a drought over there with big games in that stadium, and it'll rock. It's going to be loud.
What's it like calling a game with Caleb Williams in it? Like, you've had some moments, some glimpses in the preseason. Is it like Justin, where the spontaneous run comes about? Like, what's it like?
Yes. Yeah, there's really a patience you have to kind of feel out the quarterback. And I felt, and I told Caleb this after the Buffalo game. I saw him in the lunchroom. I said, how did you make that throw? That little hook shot pass to DeAndre Swift, or, that Adunze throw in the end zone at Soldier Field. I mean, just crazy stuff like that. So you have to keep the play alive, just like those corners and safeties have to plaster coverage, because, you never know what's next. Same with Justin. I had a hard time until I finally calibrated myself, because the difference, though, is Caleb is looking to throw. Justin was looking to run. So I was getting ready for a big run. And that's no slight against Justin. That's just how he played the game. And he is the most dynamic runner in football. I still maintain that, regardless of the position. And Caleb can do both. And so Caleb's going to be exciting to call, no question about it.
So what was your, or I mean, you could throw whatever Tom was saying on the broadcast too, or has since said, since Sunday, what did you guys feel like was the difference from, some of those highlight plays we saw during the preseason compared to the live bullets going on Sunday against the Titans?
I think Tom felt the offensive line needed to be a lot more physical, just in the ground game in general, but in protection as well. So that's some of it. I think we've learned that it's just the big moment in the first time in your career, and it's a high rate of speed versus the preseason. And he was probably a little hyped up. I think Kerry Joseph, the quarterback coach, intimated as much. And you certainly would expect that from a first-time starting quarterback in the National Football League. So, yeah, he'd like to have some passes back, certainly. But I have no fear that this is a glimpse of the future by any sense. We may have more of those type of games, though, for sure. Every quarterback is. Everybody's finding, what did the first start look like around the NFL way back to when? And it hasn't been pretty all the time. John Elway had a 0.00 game. He had 2 games under 100 yards thrown in his rookie year. So Peyton Manning led the NFL in interceptions. We've been through this same argument and discussion with Mitch and Justin, and now, Caleb gets to feel it as well. But I just feel his ceiling is very, very high, but his floor is also very, very high as he starts. And I just love his demeanor at all times, 24/7. Anytime I see him, he's got a smile on his face. He's talking with teammates. And then you see him at the podium. You guys know what it's like. You never know what you're going to get sometimes with young players, but he's acting like the CEO at the podium, exactly how he should. And it's not an act. This is organic. This is who he is.
Yeah, my follow-up question was going to be, have you gotten to know him a little bit? Obviously, your interactions, we can't go up to him in the lunchroom and talk to him.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what's he like?
It's passing. Yeah. No. Have I had I've interviewed him a couple of times, long form. But to say that I know him, we exchange pleasantries and maybe a hey, attaboy, that's it. Nothing deeper than that. So no, I have not had a one-on-one private conversation with the man. But he's a very congenial young man who also is very focused. Like, you could tell just how he handles himself. Working the room or working the practice field. He's very, very businesslike at the same time. And, none of this surprised me, given that, this is not like, I'm losing track of the name now. This is not like a Todd Marinovich thing that he was, the father and the family, all was geared to, make this machine try and play football in the National Football League. This was something Caleb asked for as a 10-year-old. And I think we should take that on its value, because every action after that was all designed to be where he is today and to seek this absolute greatness and unique greatness, something that's never been accomplished before. And I'm never going to fault somebody for wanting to do that or to try to reach those levels. And I think this is the guy that's going to try and do that and exhaust every way possible to get there. And he's only 22. Crazy.
So, yeah, that is crazy and important to remember too. Jeff, you live and breathe this just like the fans do. So you're starving to see this thing get turned around here. What are your overall feelings? This felt like, in many ways, you probably feel the same way as we did, where this entire off season kind of just felt like the on season. Like, it just never really stopped. There was just so much hype and attention, and the fans were just craving more and more content constantly. And they win their first game, but in some ways this week has almost felt like they didn't, because the offense, that's what everyone's been talking about for months and months and months, and they didn't quite live up to all the excitement and stuff. Just how are you feeling about things right now coming out of this, not only the first game, but also everything we just experienced over the summer too?
Well, we knew it was going to be one of those off seasons. Certainly, when they got the number 1 pick, all bets are off. I mean, all eyes, as they were a season before, with that attention because of the DJ Moore trade. So I was bracing myself, and it did feel like a very long process. It honestly did. I couldn't wait to get to the regular season, and then you throw in the Hall of Fame, and I stayed there for the Hall of Fame and hung out with that Hester crowd and the Steve McMichael and Julius Peppers and all that attention on the Bears, and more attention on Caleb Williams and talk of greatness in Devin Hester. And then you have 4 preseason games, and this is a long road and winding to get to the opener. And so I can see why people would feel like a little punch to the gut or whatever. But I remind everybody and myself that week 1 is the unknown. You don't know. It's the great unknown. I say it repeatedly, almost to ad nauseum. But it's the fact. It's a fact. And so, given the circumstances of new coaches, new coordinators on the other side, an established coordinator in Shane Waldron, but a new one in this particular style with these particular talents and skill players and a young quarterback, you just never knew what you're going to get. And I think things will settle down after this game. Like, okay, we're going to start learning a little bit more. Now you got your first road game. Again, the unexpected. What could turn south? What could be great? There's all kind of ways to look at it. But I'm not gnashing my teeth or wringing my hands over this at all. I mean, I have zero expectations every week 1. I can't even fathom what's going to happen. So I don't even try to get. I just don't. And I think that proves out to be true virtually everywhere in the NFL.
You say all that, and yet they're like on the other side of the ball. Like, I wasn't surprised by all the takeaways. I wasn't surprised by the improved pass rush. For a team that talks about like everything they did so much, like none of that surprised me because that's who they want to be under Matt Eberflus. So we've had this conversation on this show really all week. Like, how much did that remind you of 2005, 2006? Can they continue that? And like just in general, what do you make between those connections to that era of Bears football that exists now?
Yeah, I've heard it more than once. A lovely era of football. I heard it more than once as the game was unfolding, and and it is a way to win football games. And let me backtrack and go start with the special teams because under Dave Tobe, certainly they were stellar. Certainly because of Devin Hester, they were stellar, but there was more to it than that. Starters were playing on those return units like Charles Tillman, Hunter Hillenmeyer. I mean, there were a bunch of starters on that unit. And they were feasting. When they got a pick, Urlacher, we got one. That rang through the defense. And that mean everybody was going to block, and everybody did block. It was a feeding frenzy. And I do believe this team is capable of having that kind of feeding frenzy defensively and on special teams in the return game and coverage. So very, very excited about that, certainly. And can it continue? They always say it can't, right? There's no way you could be that lucky to get that many turnovers. But the way they play, rallying to the ball with a ferocity. And now they've been together a while. And they have 2 linebackers that can cover the entire length of the field with great wisdom, number one, and athleticism. And they don't allow much after contact. They don't allow much after the catch. The work of TJ Edwards, fantastic. I think there were 9 completed balls underneath, but the yards after the catch, I believe, was 26 total. You give me that every week.
All right. Well, nobody's more prepared than you are. I know that from, jumping in your office during the week. You got as many notes on the Houston Texans as anybody in this country right now, probably more than the Bears coaching staff. What are you, let's just talk about this game in general. What are you most looking forward to? What do you feel like are the keys for the Bears to go in there and right now win a game that they're not getting much of a chance in as a 6.5 point underdog?
Yeah, one of the big things for me is they better own the clock and don't do what the Colts did and have it for just 20 minutes. Now, they managed to score 27 points somehow with some really impressive play by Anthony Richardson at moments, but they gotta keep that offense off the field. This is a traditional, you got to keep that high-powered attack off the field, own the clock, run the ball. But my big thing is going to be third down. The third down is going to be massive. They only had 2 conversions last week, so they have to vastly improve on third down. And they were makeable third downs. I believe there were 7 3rd and 5 or less. And so there were a couple 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. And so they're makeable first downs. So extend the drive and try to keep them off the field as much as possible. Now you're going to have to score with them. Don't know who's going to play at receiver. So, some of your weaponry under wraps, you might have to look now to a different method of getting the ball in the end zone where there are 2 very hungry tight ends that can get that job done, and Cole Kmet and Mr. Everett, but also DeAndre Swift in a more featured role, I would hope. Those are things that I'm looking forward from an offense against Houston. And then you got to make sure that those 2 ends don't wreck your game plan. And Danielle Hunter's had an unbelievable career against the Bears. He's had 7.5 sacks in 8 games. He's had 50-plus tackles. He's had 14 tackles for loss, I believe, in those games. And so he's been a chore for the Bears tackles to deal with. And Will Anderson Jr., he's a rugged defensive end. He had 7 sacks last year. Outside of that, protect the football because they rally to the ball as well as the Bears do. And DeMeco Ryans has that in him. And that's his style. He wants to get to the football and make sure you don't get much after contact and take the ball away. So similar mindsets with head coach Matt Eberflus and the defensive play caller in this game. Offensively, it's going to be a heck of a story. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, and Kyler Gordon against their 3 weapons is a match made in heaven. And so there are going to be some wins and there's going to be some losses in that, you would have to imagine. But C.J. Stroud does not turn the ball over. So just 5 turnovers last year, interception-wise, but he did get hit last week. He got hit 10 times. So it's not like he's impenetrable, and that offensive line isn't impenetrable. But last year, he did that with an offensive line that wasn't healthy very much. So they missed a lot of games. Last week, they played every single snap. And so these are going to be big tasks. And then you throw in the Joe Mixon factor. There were 6 backs in the league that had 30 carries last year. He had 30 carries last week. And his prior 36 games with the Bengals, he had 2 100-yard games. So he's feeling his oats right now. And if they're going to turn and give to him to keep the ball like they did for 40 minutes, Bears are going to really have to stuff it. And they're really going to have to play really sound football on the ball. That's really going to be the necessity in this game.
All right. Well, it should be a lot of fun. Sunday night, can't wait. I still think week 2. So week 1, you're right. It's unpredictable. But then week 2, everybody overcorrects. There's always an overcorrection. There's an overreaction to what happens week 1. And I just think this is I'm not saying this is by any stretch an easy game for the Bears. It's definitely not. But I do think that should be closer than kind of where Vegas is telling you this thing is going right now. I think it's an overreaction to what the Bears put out offensively on Sunday against the Titans.
Every week's an overreaction in the NFL. So
yeah, well, that's why it's so great.
Overreaction Monday, right?
Yeah. But that's why the sport's so great, and that's why we love it.
It is.
Everybody cares that much.
It's the best sport on the planet. Yes, and as you did notice, rocking my Iowa State, Mr. Brock Purdy, what a quarterback, huh?
Yeah,
what a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that because I locked Iowa last week.
You have a problem with
I locked Iowa last weekend, and I turned the game off at halftime, and that was a mistake.
Yeah, it was a mistake. Don't ever, 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 ever sleep on Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell, at one point, was the next head coach of 15 universities, stays at Iowa State. He, again, will be one of those next coaches, but he is building a program and has built one for such a long time now with plenty of pro talent in the league, and they don't die easily. So if you're up on them, get ready for a 4th quarter barrage. They're gonna come after you, buddy.
I love it.
My Cyclones.
Fired up on the Cyclones.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
We'll let you go. We'll see you later. Bye, Jeff.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye, Adam.
Jeff Joniak joining us here on Hoge Jahns. Always a lot of fun. All right, Jahns, I think we should jump right into this matchup and the storylines this week with our 3 big questions.
All right, Adam Hoge, number 1. You're starting a football team today. Would you rather have the certainty of knowing that C.J. Stroud is a good QB today or run the gambit of selecting Caleb Williams, but also get all the assets that came with him, DJ Moore, and so on, because of the trade involving the first pick?
Yeah. Oh, man. That's a hard question. That's not easy. But I am going to pick Caleb Williams and the assets because on top of that, you also get the extra year. And also, I think C.J. Stroud's really, really good. Don't get me wrong. But do we know that for sure? Because we have seen second-year quarterbacks kind of fall off sometimes. I don't think that, let me be very clear, I don't think that's going to happen to C.J. Stroud. But it's also, I still think, a little premature to just be like, oh, yeah, this guy's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league for the next, 15 years. We don't know that yet for sure. I think he's really good, but the whole story is not done there yet.
Yeah.
For CJ Stroud, it's still very early, and so you wrap in the potential of Caleb Williams, all the assets that came with it, and you're getting an extra year on that rookie contract. All those things together, I'm still gonna take the Bears path right now.
This is a very interesting conversation to have 2 years from now. Like, does CJ Stroud take the Dak Prescott route where you like him, but you don't like him, but you got to pay him because you don't know what else is on the other side of, the QB conundrum? What do you do? Like, Dak Prescott, some years, top 10 quarterback, some years can't win a playoff game. Like, where is CJ Stroud in those QB tiers? If you want to put it that way, to use what Mike Zando does. So we don't know if he's Patrick Mahomes yet. We don't know if he's up at that level with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, those types of players, the MVPs of the league. But very good young quarterback. I'm with you. I take Caleb Williams right now, DJ Moore, and everything else that came with that first pick.
I will say, though, both franchises in good shape, and shout out to the Texans for obviously dumping Deshaun Watson at the right time, even though they didn't really have a choice, and somehow ending up with CJ Stroud. Wouldn't it be nice to have that type of quarterback luck in the NFL?
Hey, that's how it happens sometimes. All right, number 2 is an extra question from Kevin Fishbanes, the Fishman's mailbag, which you can see on The Athletic right now. This is from Alex M. CJ Stroud has shown he likes to stay in the pocket, sometimes too long. He was sacked 38 times last year. It's 38 times last year and 3 times during week 1. I got to check that. But how realistic is it that Flus and his blitzes can get after and contain Stroud? Are we underrating the success this Bears defense can have against the Texans offense?
Well, I think it's realistic that you can get after Stroud. I mean, Joniak just kind of alluded to that too. It is very impressive how much he's under pressure but doesn't turn the ball over. He gets hit a lot, and usually pressure results in takeaways. And
he was sacked 4 times in week 1. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. And I think Joniak said hit 10 times. So that'll give us a good measuring stick for how consistent this pass rush might be. Darrell Taylor had a hell of a debut. Montez Sweat's been, dealing with an injury. So is he 100%? Is he on the injury report this week? I don't remember reading his name earlier. He's not.
He is.
So
not.
That's a step in the right direction, compared to last week. So, that's one of the more underrated storylines actually right now is Darrell Taylor. Like, was that a flash in the pan in week 1, or was that is this going to be a shrewd acquisition for almost nothing right before the season starts that pays off all season long?
Well, the challenge is a bit different this week. J.C. Latham, top 10 pick, good young player. Now you're going up against Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
Significant difference, at least in my opinion, in terms of experience, all that stuff, all the above. So this is where Montez Sweat has to come through. Maybe some interior pressure would help as well. Number 3, which Texans receiver, Adam Hoge, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell, concerns you the most on Sunday?
I'm going to maybe surprise people and say Stephon Diggs here. So
that is surprising.
Yeah, this has all the makings. I've been on this though for a little while now. Stephon Diggs is obviously extremely talented and a really, really good wide receiver. He's also falls in the category of wide receivers that I think kind of wear out their welcome a little bit. So, and I think that's clearly the case of what happened in Buffalo, and they felt like getting rid of him was, addition by subtraction. And that might be the case, but at the same time, that could be somebody else's addition by addition. And they're in the honeymoon phase still in Houston, and he's still good in my opinion. So I don't know where this is going to go long term, but I felt very confident coming into the season that a healthy Stephon Diggs on a new team is still a really dangerous player. And so much so that I felt confident drafting him in fantasy and enjoyed his week 1 performance last week very much. So, Nico Collins, obviously really good. He's dealing with an illness. He was on the injury report. nothing. You can't say anything wrong about Nico Collins. Tank Dell's still young. I love Tank Dell last year. He's going to certainly, but he's going to be more of like kind of flashy. This week he's great. Next week maybe he doesn't get as many targets. That's how it's going to be when you have 3 good wide receivers. But if I had to, all 3 of these guys are good. If I had to pick one, I'm going with Stephon Diggs.
He had 6 catches for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Texans 29-27 win over the Colts.
Yep, still good. Not a ton of yards, but you take 2 touchdowns.
Yes,
every single time.
Over unders. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Point is, those are some numbers.
Those are some numbers. All right, we had a couple references to this. This is from Bears season, so let me give these to you quickly here. From Bears season, over under 1.5 references to when Houston gave the first pick to Chicago and the events that transpired after. So let me build on this. This is from Jam. Over under references 1.5, mentioning Davis Mills' prayer against the Colts in Week 18 2 years ago that led to Stroud to Houston and Caleb to Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just on the game broadcast, I think it's mentioned once and probably even shown. I hope it is. It should be.
The Hail Mary throw.
Yes.
No, it wasn't a Hail Mary throw. Was it a Hail Mary throw? No, it was not.
No, it was 4th and 20 or 25, and it was. I mean,
Hail Mary-ish.
It was basically a Hail Mary, just not from the 50-yard line. And it went right through. I can't remember the name of the player, but it went right through the hands of one of those Colts defensive backs, too. It 100% should be mentioned. It 100% should be shown. It's exactly why both of these quarterbacks are on the teams they are on now. And it probably should be mentioned more than once. But I still think it's just sort of one time. Now, pregame.
Oh, I think they go way over, actually. Just
okay.
In general, yeah.
I like it. All right, what's next?
Pregame, you're to say. You mentioned, okay, pregame. Okay. Probable spam. This is probable spam. Over under 2.5 references on the Bears not having a 4,000-yard passer in franchise history. We bring this up because C.J. Stroud, in his rookie year, let me get the exact number, threw for 4,108 yards.
Yeah, I'll take the under, but it definitely gets mentioned. But I'll go under 2.5.
Graphic?
Yeah, there's a graphic always about
like
Bears quarterback.
C.J. Stroud listed up top. Then you have Eric Kramer, Jay Cutler. Like those seasons, that's what you're going to see.
Something like, I mean, you can pick your graphic. There's plenty that can be made. But it gets mentioned. And
be inventive. Be creative.
Unfortunately, Caleb Williams is not off to a great start on trying to get to 4,000 this year.
No. All right, this is from Jeremy. Over under offensive plays for Velus Jones Jr. 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. He had 4 last week, and I'm not 100% sure he's active.
Ooh.
And even if he is, you got to give the ball to Khalil Herbert more. You got to use your other running back. So either he's not active or he is, and he's not used as much. That would be my prediction.
Under. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if he was inactive as well. All right, this is from Boba Fett, the Star Wars villain turned hero. Over under 2.5 tip passes against Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams has 2.5 tip passes.
What was it last week again? Was it 2 or 3?
I want to say it was 2. I'm gonna go under. I think it's 2.
What are we talking? Line of scrimmage tipped?
Yes.
Or
yes.
moon balls off the helmet that go 100 feet in the air?
Moon balls off the helmet. I thought that was like a laser to the left flat off the helmet.
Yeah, I don't. Great. Great
no,
first catch for Rome Odunze.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. No, tip passes at the line of scrimmage.
I'm going to say under, because I don't think the interior guys are going to be as effective. I think the passing lanes over the middle will be a little bit easier this week.
A little bit cleaner.
Yeah, but I think you'll get at least one. I think that's going to continue to sort of be a thing, fortunately.
All right, last one from David. Over, under on Texas barbecue meals consumed by Johns during the trip, 1.5. I'm going to go under. All right. With a little caveat here. There's definitely going to be one. It all depends on what the Texans serve in the press box later at night.
Ooh, so 2. I remember the last time I was in Houston, they had amazing chicken wings up there. I was coming in from a Northwestern game. I got there it's definitely the closest to kickoff I've ever arrived to a game just because I had to travel there that morning and it was a noon game. And I think I walked into the press box like 11:40, like 20 minutes for kickoff. And there was just all these chicken wings and they're so good.
So that counts.
Well, yeah, if they're barbecue.
Now you have me looking forward to those chicken wings.
Yep. This is by far the thing I miss the most about traveling is the local food that can be consumed and the dinners.
I'm going to count on the Houston Texans to provide such a meal. So I'm going to say 2. Over.
Okay.
All right, and lastly, over under on the fish man finding a notable stat from the game that hasn't happened in the past 20 years. Half. Over.
Yeah, over for sure. You can always find one of those.
But he's so good at it.
Right.
Like little behind the scenes. He's so good at it that other media members come up to his seat in the media room asking him for such stats.
Yeah, he's the media room researcher now.
It used to be Mark Potash, the numbers guy, as Brandon
man.
Marshall used to call him. Now it's the fish man.
Yeah. All right. Seems like it's that time. I think we need to make our predictions for this game. Sunday Night Football on NBC, also available on Peacock if you want to go that route. 7:20 kickoff. Bears at Texans. The Texans a 6.5-point favorite. What do you got?
I have the Bears losing. I'm sorry,
Okay.
losing 23-20. I think they cover 6.5. Just seems like a lot. And I know the offense wasn't good. And as you said, maybe this is part of an overreaction from Las Vegas because of how bad that offense was. They don't trust the rookie quarterback. There's injuries at wide receiver. This Bears defense is going to keep things close. They may even score. I'm willing to even flip my prediction if the Bears are able to produce 2 or more takeaways. I'm convinced they'll get at least 1. That might be an interception by Stroud, or it might be a fumble forced elsewhere. But I think they get 1. If they get 2, then I think the Bears might be more than just in this game. You're talking about them potentially winning this game. But give me C.J. Stroud over Caleb Williams right now. They're healthy at receiver. They have 2 good pass rushers. 23-20 Texans.
So I have a very similar score. I think that the Bears defense is going to continue to play well. Can they get 2 takeaways though? I think that's a fair question. Because CJ Stroud doesn't turn the ball over. But I do think they get 1. I think Bears special teams continues to play well. They seem to have something there with DeAndre Carter. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans just go for touchbacks this week after what the Bears did in the return game last week. But so yeah, they're going to give up more points, a little bit more points than I think they did last week against the Texans. The Titans. But their emphasis, and we've heard it defensively, is to fix those issues they had against the run in the first half, which they corrected in the second half in a game that the Titans had a lead. So they could have just, they should have just been continuing to run the clock out, but the Bears tightened up the run game on them, and that forced, some bad decisions to happen. So I think that's got to be the same game plan. I think the Bears will be tough enough defensively. Will they still give up probably somewhere around 20 points? I think so, because this Texans offense is really good. I just don't see any scenario in which the Bears offense isn't better. How could it be worse? And there's so many things that I think are relatively easy to correct. Are there holes on that offensive line that'll probably continue to persist? Probably. But the personnel stuff is controllable. by the coaching staff. Get that fixed right away. The injuries at wide receiver are very concerning. And if neither Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze play, I might have this prediction switched by Sunday. But I think this is a close game. And I think there's always an overreaction to week 1. I'll tell you what right now before I make my actual score prediction. The 6.5.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
That's one of my favorite spreads of the entire weekend, that the Bears cover 6.5. I think that is an enormous overreaction to week 1. And week 2 is always a great week to take advantage of those overreactions. Just some advice for the weekend as you look into these games. But I think it's so much of an overreaction. I actually have this game coming down to a Cairo Santos field goal. I have the same exact score as you, Johns, but I have it flipped. I have the Bears winning 23-20.
Wow. Hey, I got the score correct last week.
I saw that. Good for you.
That was a pat in the back.
Yeah, you knew there was going to be no offensive touchdowns and there was going to be a 2-point conversion after a pick 6 to get the exact score.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
That's
a little pat in the back. Bold prediction for this game?
Let's do it.
Bold predictions.
Tyreek Stevenson, another interception.
Wow.
CJ Stroud only threw 5 last year. We talked about turnovers in my prediction. I think they get it through the air.
Okay.
Tyreek Stevenson.
Here's my bold prediction. I'm gonna step it up a little bit because I don't know if it would be bold if I just said 1. But I think Darrell Taylor, even though he has got a tougher matchup this week, has another big game. I'll say 1.5 sacks. Asking for 2 again is a lot. And 1 might not be bold enough. So I'll split that. I'll say 1.5. I still think that's pretty bold for him to come out of these first 2 games then with what would be 3.5 sacks. That's my bold prediction. Sound good? All right, let's keep it rolling here.
The one word that stands out to me is complimentary football.
That's right.
Ooh, that's a new one. That's a new drop.
They need more of that this week. All right, let's go on to our other games of the weekend. And the rest of the NFC North plays at noon on Sunday. Good opportunity for Bears fans to watch the rest of the division all play at one time while the Bears are not. And it's Fox noon. Pretty fun game based on what the Bucs did last week. The Buccaneers go to Detroit. The Lions are a 7.5-point favorite in this one. That line surprised me a little bit because Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, that seems to be a real thing. I mean, this was a playoff team last year. This was a playoff matchup last year.
Yeah, that seems too high for me. My lock is actually be the Buccaneers covering the spread. I think it was CJ Stroud, actually. He had a kind of a funny, not funny, but like he was talking about the week 1 quarterbacks kind of struggling because it was brought up because of Caleb Williams, and he didn't really have, like, there's some ups and downs across the league for a lot of different quarterbacks. But then he said everybody but Baker. Like, Baker Mayfield's the one quarterback who went off in week 1, 4 touchdown passes for the Buccaneers in a blowout win. I think the Buccaneers will be able to move the ball. I do. Give me those points.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I think 7.5 is way too much. I'll take the Bucs to cover, Lions to win.
Did we see what was up your sleeve? Or
I don't know. What's up yours?
Fox noon. Colts at the Packers. No Jordan Love. Malik Willis getting the start. And because of that, the Packers are 2.5-point underdogs at home to J.J. Stankovic's Indianapolis Colts.
This strikes me as one of those games where you have a team kind of rallying behind like a big injury, but that only lasts for so long. The Colts are a good team. They're competitive. Anthony Richardson made one of the most remarkable throws I think you'll see all season in week 1. I don't know how consistently he can do that 60 yards off the back foot, right on the money. Hell of a throw to Alec Pierce, I believe. Local kid, Glenboro West. Give me the Colts. The Colts pull away in this one. Maybe win by 7 or 10 points.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The amount of faith I have in Malik Willis is pretty much 0. I remember him playing, I think it was a Thursday night game. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Whatever it was. And it's just like, this guy, he's just not an NFL starting quarterback. I'll tell you what, underrated early storyline, you look at the backups for the Packers and the Dolphins right now, as Tua went down with another concussion last night. Should feel pretty good about having Tyson Bagent as your backup here in Chicago, because there's a lot of teams right now scrambling. I think the Packers are going to be one of those. I will take the Colts to win and cover in Green Bay. That would send the Packers to 0-2.
We're trying to expand this package.
Has he struggled with expanding his package?
There's JJ.
Voice of the Colts.
CBS noon. 49ers at Vikings. The Vikings are 5-point home dogs after a very convincing win over the not so good New York Giants last week.
Yeah, I'm buying more that the Giants are bad than that Sam Darnold is now good.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. So you're going 49ers?
I'm going 49ers.
Yeah.
I'm not buying what they're selling up in Minnesota quite yet on Sam Darnold.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Sam Darnold, I thought was going to be very interesting to see coming off his little 1-year internship with Kyle Shanahan, what that all looked like. Pretty good last week. Here's the problem. You're facing the 49ers this week. And I feel like they're going to know, even if he did get better, even if he did learn some things, they're going to know him. They're going to know how to rattle him, exactly how to win this game. So I want to take the Vikings to cover at home. It's always a loud environment, but I think this is the game that ultimately they pull away late. So I will take the 49ers to win in cover 5.
Look, how you doing? Hey, Lovey. How's everybody doing?
We had to get one Lovey drop in here with this game this weekend against the Texans. Build the Lovey statue now. All right. A game that they were probably hoping would be better than, I mean, it'll still be good, but this is your late afternoon big window on CBS, game of the week situation. 3:25. It's the Bengals at Chiefs. The Chiefs are 5.5-point home favorite against a Bengals team that kind of always struggles early on, but there seems to be more to this right now.
But is that a week 1 overreaction?
It could be, but I keep going back to, I was not surprised at all. You heard remember I picked the Patriots last week. I did not like what we saw from the Bengals when they came to Hallis Hall. I don't like their preseason storylines. I thought that carried over to week 1. And the last thing you want to see to get right are the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So I just don't see this. It might be a little bit of a overreaction that gets corrected in a month, but I don't see it getting corrected this week going into Arrowhead. I am going to take the Chiefs not only to win, but cover.
Agreed. I got the Chiefs by a field goal, by a touchdown. Maybe it's like a 24-20 game in the fourth quarter, and then with 3 minutes left, Chiefs get a field goal. You get that cover kind of at the end, and Joe Burrow can't move the ball to cut into that. So maybe a better game, but give me the Chiefs.
His quote, courtesy of Adam Hoge.
Monday night, ESPN 7:15. The Falcons are at the Eagles. The Eagles are 6.5-point favorite. Now, this one to me feels like a correction game. I am not going to say the Falcons win, but I do think they play better. It is a Kirk Cousins Monday night situation, although he has, I think, rectified that a little bit lately.
I think he's over that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to pick the Falcons to win. I do think this is a good game. I think they play better. And I think the Eagles, who, if you really look at that first game, they were fortunate to win. And so I think this is much closer. I will take the Eagles to win, but the Falcons to cover.
Agreed. I'm not quite sure if the Falcons are going to be a good team, at least not early in the season, but that's my analysis on that one.
Yeah, I think that's fair right now. All right, we are out of here. I hope everybody enjoys their Sunday, enjoy some football during the day. Bears at night. It's been a long time. I think that was a Fishbane fun fact, by the way, for you. Not so fun fact. The Bears haven't won a Sunday night game in a very, very long time. It's been like over a decade, I think, on the road.
Yeah, they've lost 9 straight Sunday night football games on the road.
Ooh, yikes. Well, they're going to fix that because I said so. Bears 23.
They're due.
Texans 20. They're due. Absolutely. We will be back on Monday morning with a live post-game recap coming at you. Johnsy will still be in Houston for it. And we'll talk to you then at 9:30 on Monday, right after this game. Enjoy the football. We'll talk to you then.